This is pretty messy, so I want to zoom into this area a little bit more detail. Let's do another little diagram that zooms in. So here's the equator, and here's 30 degrees. And we have that desert that's forming at 30 degrees. It might go a little bit farther north than 30 degrees, but it progresses all the way down to about 15 degrees, and this is just all approximate generalizations. We have our trade winds coming in here. Northeast trade winds, southeast trade winds, desert. Goes to about 15 degrees latitude or so. This desert is desert here because of the sinking air. As air sinks, it warms up in the troposphere, and warming causes evaporation. But think about the wind now blowing from 30 degrees towards the equator. Is that going to be warming up or cooling down? Well, it's going to be warming up even more. And as it warms up, it's going to cause more drying because it's going to cause more evaporation. So this is desert all through here. It's not now going the other direction. If we head on northward from there, from 30 degrees, with the westerly winds, that's not going to be desert because it's heading away from the equator. It's cooling off. So that's going to cause condensation instead of evaporation. So that's not desert. That'll be a grassland up there. We've got grasslands where the wind is blowing away from the equator because it's able to condense. Condensation's happening as it cools, going away from the equator. You're getting grasslands up there. You're having deserts at 30 degrees and heading towards 15 degrees. This is a subtropical desert. Now the tropics start at 23.5 degrees. Tropics. The Tropic of Cancer up here, and this is the Tropic of Capricorn down there. Closer to the equator than 23.5, that would be a tropical desert. I know it sounds a little bit like an oxymoron. Tropical desert. Because we tend to think of the tropics as being really moist, but this is desert because the air is still warming up, and as it's warming up, it's causing evaporation. Now, remember that we have rising air here, creating the tropical rainforest. So that's because the air is rising, and as it rises, it cools, and that causes cloudy conditions and rain. Now, if we head farther north, we've got the equator down here. We have the forest down here, we have the desert here, we have grasslands. This is the boreal forest we mentioned. Here we could get some deciduous forest. Between a desert, remember there's a desert at the North Pole. Well, there's not a desert, there's an ocean, but that would be desert if there were any islands or anything up there. Between the desert and the forest is usually a grassland. Forest, grassland. Desert, grassland, forest. Okay, so here's a grassland, but this one has a special name. This one's called the tundra. It's sort of drier than, it's not as moist as a forest. It's not as dry as a desert. It's a grassland.